Okay, so this was the question and I'm going to solve it here. ठीक है, और इसको आपने मेथड को फॉलो करना है and this method will be used to do your assignment as a midterm. ठीक है, so let me settle it up. Kindly do note it properly. I will send you the recording later on.
So is it an individual assignment?
Yeah.
Is it an individual assignment?
Yes, it's an individual assignment, but kindly note this first. We will see later on कि क्या करना चाहिए इसमें. ठीक है. So question is given that here we are going to discuss how demand and supply question is solved. In economics, we also call it partial equilibrium. So this is a topic of partial equilibrium, where you are talking about the single product in a market. Okay, so the product here discussed is the gold jewelry market. Okay, and we are going to discuss the case of increase in tax in the fashion industry. So most of you people already know how to draw the partial equilibrium, but we are going to study the channel of change in partial equilibrium coming from the individual equilibrium. So individual equilibrium, we have discussed two types. One was consumer equilibrium and second was producer equilibrium. So first of all, we'll draw the diagram of partial equilibrium. So there is y-axis and an x-axis, and we already know there's certain demand curve negatively sloped and there's a certain supply curve positively sloped. So let's label it. So this is demand, this is supply, this is quantities of demand or quantity of supply. Both are shown on x-axis, and these are the prices of the good that we are discussing. So let's call it price of a commodity, and these are quantities for demand for a commodity and supply for a commodity. So since the question is, first of all, you need to understand who is affected by this statement. So first is the effective from this statement is the demanders. The demanders are effectees. So let me correct it. So affected. So demanders are affected. So it means the change in this equilibrium will come from consumer equilibrium, because actually this statement is affecting the demanders. So then we'll draw the consumer equilibrium here. So we have already discussed that consumer equilibrium is based upon budget line and indifference curve. So we'll draw a particular budget line, negative slope line touching both axes, and then we draw an indifference curve on it, which is touching only once, so that we can discuss. So this is our indifference curve for indifference curve I, and this is budget line. And here product is quantity of A is here, and there's some other quantity of B product. So it means customer is now comparing two goods. So A good is actually gold is A, and let's assume some other product that is B. So we can call its substitute as, so artificial gold as B. So we draw the consumer equilibrium, and now we study the statement how the change is going to happen. Okay, so let's just take a different color so that I can draw it and show the differences. So what is happening is that since there is an increase in tax on fashion industry, so a particular let me write some more detail here. So this is individual, and this is market. So this is market of gold, and this is the individual who is thinking of buying gold. So he has an indifference curve and budget line for gold and artificial gold. He's thinking which product he should buy. So he is balancing his budget and needs and wants, trying to find an equilibrium point, and his decision will be defining the market, because if one individual is doing this, everyone is doing same thing. So it's a formula. So this customer has decided that at the given prices of gold and given prices of artificial gold and available income that he have, so it means for him the prices of A and prices of B and income are known for the individual. He knows it. So based upon that, he had decided that he will buy this much of QA, let's call it QA star, and this much of QB, let's call it QB star. So now what the statement says, that there is a tax on the fashion industry. So what will happen? So if there is a tax, then there is a decrease in income. So how we draw decrease in income? We draw a budget line which is inward, or we leftward shift the budget line. So we draw an arrow showing that budget line has moved inward from outward, and then we draw a new indifference curve on it. So new indifference curve will be somewhere here. So let's draw a parallel line like this. So indifference curve 2 and budget line 2. So let me take a blue color, and this was budget line 1. So what has happened is that because of increase in tax, there is a decrease in income, which has caused budget line shift left for the consumer. So what has happened is, now there is a fall in QA and QB. So we draw an arrows here. QA has decreased and QB also has decreased because there is a tax on gold jewelry. So what has happened is that this customer is now buying less units of gold because he do not have income. Now since he is buying less units of gold, how so this was a model for one customer. Now we will aggregate it. We will, let me write in black. So we will assume that all customers are thinking like this. EHINKING, thinking like this. So it means if there is an increase in tax, all the customers are facing a decrease in income, and all customers are facing a situation where they have decrease in what you call it, decrease in demand for purchase of QA, which is gold. So it means everyone is buying less. So it means in the market you will notice that there is a decrease in demand. So we'll draw arrows here. So demand curve has shifted leftward. So what is the conclusion? Let me take a black color so that you can see. So conclusion is that because of tax on the buyers of that gold jewelry, what will happen is you will notice that products are becoming cheaper, or gold is becoming cheaper, and people are buying less. So the outcome is that prices of gold will fall down because people cannot afford, because they have lower income, and quantity of gold will also fall down because the people are also now poor, so they will buy lower quantity, and they will also prefer if the seller has reduced the price. So this is the outcome. So what has happened? Because of tax, market shrank, prices, PRICES, prices fell. So this is the total diagram. So where what is happened is that the consumer equilibrium, we have drawn the case where the effect is coming from the consumer equilibrium. Now I will do one more example for the producer equilibrium so that you can understand how actually the partial equilibrium is drawn. So let me go to a new screen. Let me get the question. The question was, go back. So here the question was that there in the gold jewelry market, let me complete the question. In the gold market, there is a strike by labor union for higher wages. So the laborers are on a strike and they ask for higher wages. So let me discuss this case. So what is happening is, so we need to draw the partial equilibrium. So let me draw the diagram of partial equilibrium. So here it is y-axis and x-axis. There's the demand curve and there's a supply curve for gold. So let me label it. So supply of gold, demand for gold, and quantity of gold, quantity supply of gold, quantity demand of gold. Okay, and then there is a price of gold, and the equilibrium is already being established at these points. Now we already know this is the market. First of all, you need to discuss who is the effectee. So here the laborers are actually providing services to the seller so that they can produce. So here seller is affected first. So it means we have to come from producer equilibrium. So let's draw the producer equilibrium case here. So this is the demand supply, and we have already discussed that producer comes from the production possibility frontier. So I will draw the production possibility frontier here. Okay, and there is a particular budget line. There is a price ratio at which they are producing the item. So I will pick it up and try to touch it only once. So you have to use it or use the ruler to make sure they are touching only once. And at that point, this is the quantity that seller is producing for gold, and this is the quantity for artificial gold. So here it is gold, and here it is artificial gold. So for this is the equilibrium for seller, and he knows the prices of gold, and he knows the prices of artificial gold, and he knows his ability. So he has his resources which are available. So what is happening here is that now we come back to the question, and I'll take the red color. So labor union are striking for higher wages. So what is happening? His resources are shrinking. As a seller, uh, he is saying that he's feeling that his labor are not coming to job, so his resources are reduced. So how we can draw these lower resources? The production possibility frontier has came inward, shifted inward. Why? Because the resources that were used to produce gold and artificial gold are on a strike. So what has happened? So let me draw the price issue. So prices has not been changed. So I will draw the price ratio line parallel because there's no change in the prices. I will make sure they are also tangent. So then I will look at the points. So what has happened in this new equilibrium? The quantities of production of gold and artificial gold has reduced. So what has happened here? Let me write. So because of strike, labor has reduced. So it means the production will fall. So this way we can see that because of the strike by the labor union, there is a fall in quantities of gold which is being produced, and also the quantities of artificial gold. So assuming all gold sellers are facing same situation, which is a reasonable assumption because I am drawing a case where based upon a theory and every seller is facing a similar problem. So what has happened that since resources have been reduced, so there is a decrease in supply for uh, gold. And you notice that this supply curve is parallel shifted leftward. Why? Because you notice in the producer equilibrium that the PPF has shifted backward. So for any particular type, here prices are not changing, but for any particular type, the quantities of gold and artificial jewelry are reduced. So supply curve is leftward shift. This is showing that for any price, now seller has lower ability because his PPF has shrank inward. So let me write it here. So this means for any price, seller will produce lower as PPF shift left. So it doesn't matter what is the price. It matters that the seller has now lower ability. So if even if in this case, even if you increase the price, seller may not be able to increase the quantity as much as the previous case. Okay, so what has happened here? So what has happened here as the seller has felt the shrinkage of resources, so his ability has been reduced. So if we see in the equilibrium what has happened, so in the market you will notice that there is an increase in price but decrease in quantity. Okay, so what does it mean? So it means prices increased, quantity of gold decreased. So the conclusion is that because of such event, there will be shortage of gold as it is being produced in a lower quantity. So people will pay higher price to get this product. Hopefully it is understandable to you that how seller equilibrium is converted into a partial market equilibrium, or a buyer equilibrium or consumer equilibrium is converted into a partial market equilibrium. Okay, so one more thing is that why even if the resources have decreased, why prices are not changing? So prices are not being determined by the seller. The prices are being determined by the market. Okay, so we made PPF because the question is affecting the question is targeting the seller. So seller decision comes from PPF and price ratio. Okay, so when the resources reduced, the seller's ability to produce has reduced. Because of that, supply curve shifted leftward, and because of that, prices are now changed. So in this topic, we only draw the first case. First case is first event, that is decrease in quantity. We do not draw the second event, that is increase in price, because if I draw the second case, which is increase in price on the PPF again, the price ratio will change and this will be a to and fro motion. So in this topic we are focusing on the outcome of first incidents, not what is happening later on. So if you want to see what is happening later on, then it is better to do using a data. Otherwise in each step there will be some assumptions that may lead to imperfect policy. Hopefully it is understandable that why I have not changed the prices here. Okay.